Hello everyone, here is Afra Siab. Today we are going to solve Cambridge IGCSE Physics Paper 2, Multiple Choice Extended, held on February-March 2018 and paper code is 0625 with variant 22. So let's start from question number 1. Question number 1. Which instrument is used to measure accurately the diameter of a thin metal wire? So basically here we have to measure the diameter of a metal wire. Option A, 30 cm ruler, B, measuring tape, C, meter rule, D, micrometer screw gauge. Measuring tape, meter rule actually used for the measurement of the length, but here we have to measure the diameter. So diameter is measured by micrometer screw gauge. Option D is correct. Question number 2. A parachutist is falling through the air at the terminal velocity. Which statement about the parachutist is correct? A. Every force acting on the parachutist is equal to 0 and his acceleration is equal to 0. Option B. Every force acting on the parachutist is equal to 0 and his velocity is equal to 0. C. The resultant force acting on the parachutist is equal to 0 and his acceleration equal to 0. Option D. The resultant force acting on the parachutist is equal to 0 and his velocity is equal to 0. So first of all, here is a term, terminal velocity. Terminal velocity is basically the constant velocity. If I suppose here is a body and it is falling through the air, we know that the weight of body is acting in downward direction, which is equal to mg, and there is the opposing force that is acting in upward direction. This force is due to air resistance. When the body falls, then the velocity increases. With the increase in velocity, there is a force that is acting in upward direction. This force is basically due to the air resistance. When the weight becomes equal to upward force, then the body moves with the constant speed. Then I find out the net force, which will be equal to weight minus upward force. So both of these are equal, due to which the net force will be equal to 0. And according to Newton's second law of motion, F is equal to ma. When the net force is equal to 0, it means that acceleration is also equal to 0 when the body attains the terminal velocity. So here we can see that net force is acting on the body is equal to 0 and also the acceleration is equal to 0. Now option C is correct, which shows that the resultant force acting on the parachutist is equal to 0 and his acceleration is equal to 0. Option A, B and D is incorrect because here velocity is equal to 0, which is not possible. So only C option is correct. Question number 3. A curved line on the graph shows the motion of a car. What is the acceleration of the car at time of 4.0 second? Here we have to find out the acceleration at 4.0 second. We can see here it's the speed time graph and the slope of speed time graph gives us acceleration. So acceleration is equal to slope of speed time graph. A will be equal to delta V over delta T. First of all, when we have to find out the acceleration at 4.0 second, this is at this point and this graph is a curved line. I have to draw the tangent which is drawn already here. Then I take any 2 point, this one and second is here. Find out the coordinates of these 2 points and then I find out the acceleration. Here time is 2.0 second and here 5.0, where at this point the speed is 12.0 and here is 3.0. Now I put values. A will be equal to 12.0 minus 3.0 divided by 5.0 minus 2.0, which is equal to 3.0 meter per second square. From here option D is correct. Question number 4. A diagram shows the bird in flight. The bird is flying in a horizontal direction to the flight. So this bird is flying in the horizontal direction, in this direction. In which direction does the air resistance act on the bird? Air resistance always act in the opposite direction to the motion. As this bird is flying towards B, then the air resistance will be acting towards D. So option D is correct. Question number 5. The gravitational field strength on the moon is 1.6 Newton per kilogram. An astronaut has a mass of 75 kilogram. What is the weight of the astronaut on the moon? So here we have to find out weight. We know that weight is the product of mass and gravitational field strength G. Now I am going to put values here. Mass is 75 kilogram multiplied by G is 1.6. So it will be equal to 120 Newton. From here option C is correct. Question number 6. A measuring cylinder contains 30 cubic centimeter of a liquid. Some more of the liquid is added until the liquid level reaches to 50 cubic centimeter mark. The reading on the balance increased by 30 gram. What is the density of the liquid? Here we have to find out the density of the liquid. We know that density is equal to mass over volume. Mass is given, which is 30 gram. And we have to find out the density of the liquid, due to which we have to find out the volume of the liquid. So volume of the liquid will be equal to 50 cubic centimeter minus initial reading, which is 30 cubic centimeter. So it will be equal to 20 cubic centimeter. Now I am going to put values here. Density will be equal to 30 divided by 20. It will be equal to 1.5 gram per cubic centimeter. So from here option C is correct. Question number 7. A stone of mass 0.12 kilogram is fired from a catapult. The velocity of the stone changes from 0 to 5.0 meter per second in 0.60 second. What is the average resultant force acting on the stone while it is being fired? So here we have to find out the resultant force when the time and velocity is given. I use the Newton second of motion. F is equal to ma, and we know that acceleration is the rate of change of velocity. So here will be v minus u over t. Force will be equal to, mass is given 0.12 multiplied by v is 5.0 minus u is 0 divided by time is 0.60. So force will be equal to 1.0 Newton. Now we see the options. Option A 1.0 Newton, which is correct. Question number 8. A uniform rod XY of weight 2.0 Newton has a length of 80 cm. The rod is suspended by the thread 20 cm from the end X. The weight of 5.0 Newton is suspended from the end X. A student hangs a 6.0 Newton weight on the rod so that it is in equilibrium. What is the distance of the 6.0 Newton weight from the end X? Here we have to find out the distance of the weight 6.0 Newton that we attach here so that it is in equilibrium. First of all, here is 5.0 Newton, and there is a string. The distance of this force from the string is 20 centimeter. The weight of this rod is 2.0 Newton and its length is 80 centimeter. There is a weight at the center, that is 2.0 Newton. The distance of this weight from here is 20 centimeter. Now we see that when I calculate the moment for this weight, here will be 20 multiplied by 2.0, which is equal to 40 Newton centimeter. But in this case, the moment is 20 multiplied by 5.0, which is equal to 100 Newton centimeter. Here we can see that the moment that is caused by 2.0 Newton is equal to 40 Newton centimeter, while the moment caused by 5.0 Newton is 100 Newton centimeter. It means the moment caused by the 2 Newton force is smaller as compared to the moment caused by the 5.0 Newton. So the force of 2.0 Newton causes the clockwise rotation, while force of 5.0 Newton causes the anti-clockwise rotation, like this. To achieve the equilibrium, the new weight, which is 6.0 Newton, it must be hung on the right side. Let its distance from the pivot point is D. We have to find out this distance D. So I use here anti-clockwise movement. Will be equal to clockwise movement according to law of conservation of moment. Now I am going to put values here. Anti-clockwise moment is caused by 5.0 Newton force. So there will be 5.0 multiplied by 20 centimeter. It is equal to 2 multiplied by, here this is force 2 Newton multiplied by 20 centimeter plus new weight is 6.0 and we have to find out distance D. So from here it will be 140 plus 6.0 D. So D will be equal to 100 minus 40 divided by 6.0, which is equal to 10 centimeter. It means that this distance is basically equal to 10 centimeter. So option B is correct. Question number 9. A wooden plank rests in equilibrium on two rocks on opposite side of the narrow stream. Three forces P, Q and R act on the plank. How are the size of the forces related? We can see here three forces are acting here. P and R acting in upward direction while the Q is acting in the downward direction. So here the net forces acting on this plank must be equal to 0, which means that upward forces must be equal to the downward forces. I write here net force will be equal to 0, which means that upward forces is equal to downward forces. There are two forces acting in upward direction, P and R. So P plus R, it will be equal to downward force is Q. So here will be Q. Now we see the options. Option A, P plus Q is equal to R, which is incorrect. B, P plus R is equal to Q. So this option is correct. Question number 10. A ball of mass 0.16 kilogram is moving forward at a speed of 0.50 meter per second. A second ball of mass 0.10 kilogram is stationary. It means that the velocity of the second ball is equal to 0. The first ball strikes the second ball. The second ball moves forward at a speed of 0.50 meter per second. What is the speed of the first ball after the collision? So here we have to find out the speed of the first ball after the collision. Here we use the law of conservation of momentum. The total momentum before the collision must be equal to the total momentum after collision. So I write here, total momentum before the collision will be m1 v1 plus m2 v2. It is equal to m1 v1 prime plus m2 v2 prime. It is given that the second ball is stationary, which means that v2 is equal to 0. For the ball 1, mass is 0.16 multiplied by speed is 0.50 plus the mass of the second ball is 0.10 multiplied by 0, because here speed is 0. It will be equal to mass of the first body is 0.16 multiplied by, we have to find out v1 prime, plus 0.10 multiplied by 0.50. So I write here 0.16 v1 prime will be equal to 0.16 multiplied by 0.50 minus 0.10 multiplied by 0.50, and then I have to divide with 0.16. So v1 prime will be equal to 0.19 meter per second. From here option B is correct. Question number 11. A ball is at rest at the top of a hill. It rolls down the hill. At the bottom of the hill, the ball hits a wall and stops. Which energy change occur? First of all, the ball is at the top of hill. It means that it is at some height. So there will be gravitational potential energy. When the ball is at the bottom of the hill, all of the gravitational potential energy changes into kinetic energy. So here will be kinetic energy, and when it stops, then all of the energy will be internal energy. Now we see the options. Option A, gravitational potential energy, internal energy, kinetic energy. This is incorrect order. B, gravitational potential energy, kinetic energy, internal energy. So option B is correct. Question number 12. A student cycles along a level road at a speed of 5.0 meter per second. The total mass of the student and bicycle is 120 kilogram. The student applies the brakes and stops. The braking distance is 10 meter. What is the average braking force? Here we have to find out the average braking force. According to Newton's second law of motion, F is equal to ma. In order to calculate the acceleration, we apply here equation of motion, that is 2as is equal to v square minus u square. First of all, from here I find out the value of acceleration. It will be equal to v square minus u square over 2s, and put this value into equation 1. So force will be equal to m v square minus u square over 2s. Now I put values here. Force will be equal to, mass is given 120 kilogram multiplied by v, which is 5.0 meter per second. I have to take its square minus u, which is equal to 0 because the cycle stops. Divided by 2s, the distance is 10 meter. So that the value of force will be equal to 150 Newton. Now we see the options. Option A, 150 Newton. So option A is correct. Question number 13. A water manometer is connected to a gas supply. There is a gas leak and the pressure of the gas supply falls. What happens to the level at P and what happens to the level at Q? Water level at P and water level at Q. So first of all, we can see here when we apply the pressure at the point P here, then what will happen? The water level at the P decrease, it moves down, while the level at the Q rise up. Here in this situation, when we reduce the pressure, then the water level on the P rise up while the water level on the Q fall down. Now we see the options. Option A, falls, B, falls rises, C, rises falls, D, rises. So from here option C is correct. Question number 14. A submarine is 20 meters below the surface of a sea. The pressure due to the water at this depth is P. On the other day, submarine is 26 meters below the surface of the fresh water. The density of the sea water is 1.3 times the density of the fresh water. What is the pressure due to the fresh water at the depth of 26 meters? First of all, I consider only the surface of the sea. The pressure will be pressure at the sea, it will be equal to density at the sea multiplied by G and H. Now height in this case is given, which is 20 meter, and value of G we know it is 10 meter per second square. So pressure will be equal to density multiplied by 20 and 10, which is equal to 200 density at the surface of. It is given that the pressure due to the water at this depth is P. So I write here P is equal to 200 and density of the sea water. So I label this equation as 1. Now we consider the fresh water. I write here fresh water. The pressure due to the fresh water will be equal to again density, value of G and H. It is given that the density due to the sea water, it will be equal to 1.3 times the density of the fresh water. From here, density of the fresh water is density of the sea divided by 1.3. Now I put this value. PF will be equal to multiplied by G and H. So it will be the value of G is 10 multiplied by height, which is given 26 meter. It will be equal to 200 and density due to the sea water, which is equal to PF. Now we see here that the right hand side of equation 1 and this equation is same. It means that left hand side should be same. So PF will be equal to P. The pressure remains same. Now we see the options. Option A, P over 1.3, B, P. So option B is correct because pressure is equal to P. Question number 15. A cylinder with a tape contains a fixed mass of gas X. The gas is contained by a piston which can move freely towards or away from the tape. Here is the gas X and this is piston, while the outer surface is basically the cylinder. When the tape is opened, The piston moves slightly to the right towards the tape. What can be deduced about the pressure of the X? So when the tap is closed, like here, the gas contained by the piston can move freely towards or away from the tape because the pressure of the gas is more than the atmospheric pressure inside the cylinder. Here pressure is larger as compared to atmospheric pressure. Next, when the tape is open, then the pressure in the cylinder is same as that of the atmospheric pressure. So pressure will be same as that of the atmospheric pressure. So the piston moves slightly towards the right. Now we see the options. Before opening the tape, after opening tape. Option A, the pressure is less than atmospheric pressure, more than atmospheric pressure. This is incorrect. B, same as atmospheric pressure. This is also incorrect because pressure is larger. C, more than the atmospheric pressure, less than the atmospheric pressure. After opening, the pressure is same. So this is also incorrect. Option D, more than the atmospheric pressure, same as atmospheric pressure. So option D is correct. Question number 16. Liquid evaporates from a beaker. What happens to the temperature of the remaining liquid and how does this temperature change affect the rate of evaporation? I suppose here is a beaker and it contains a liquid. In the evaporation, the molecules of the liquid escape from the surface. Only those molecules escape that have high energy. The remaining molecules on this surface is basically those that has less energy. So when the energy decreases, the temperature also decreases. By decreasing the temperature, the rate of evaporation also decreases. Now we see the options. Temperature and the rate of evaporation. Option A, decrease, decrease. So option A is correct. Question number 17. Which quantity does not change when there is an increase in temperature? A, the density of the steel block. B, the diameter of the hole in a metal nut. C, the length of an iron rod. D, the mass of the metal coin. Mass is independent of the size and the volume of the matter. When the temperature increases, matter expands, but the mass remains same. It means that mass of the metal coin does not change when we increase the temperature. So option D is correct. Question number 18. A thermocouple is used to measure the temperature. Which is an advantage of using a thermocouple instead of liquid in glass thermometer? Option A, it can measure the temperature in the range minus 10 degrees C to 110 degrees C. B, it can measure the temperature that changes rapidly. C, it has a linear scale. D, it is more sensitive. So thermocouple is a sensor for measuring the temperature. Thermocouples are commonly used due to their simplicity and the quick response to the change in temperature. So option B is correct, which shows that we prefer the thermocouple because it can measure the temperature that changes very rapidly. Question number 19. A block of copper has a mass of 2.0 kg. The block of the copper absorbs 12,000 joule thermal energy. The specific heat capacity of the copper is 385 joule per kilogram per degree C. What is the temperature rise of the copper? So here we have to find out the rise in temperature. I use here E is equal to mc delta T, where delta T is equal to E over mc. Energy is given 12,000 joule divided by mass is 2.0 gram multiplied by C, which is 385 joule per kilogram per degree C. So rise in temperature will be equal to 15.625 degrees C. Now we see the options. Option A 15.6 degrees C. So option A is correct. Question number 20. A teacher demonstrates an experiment to a class. A boiling tube is filled with the water and some ice cubes are trapped at the bottom of the tube. The teacher then heats the boiling tube in the position shown until the water at the top boils. The ice does not melt. What does this demonstrate? So here ice does not melt. Option A. Water is a good conductor of the thermal energy. B. Water is a good convector of the thermal energy. Option C. Water is a poor conductor of thermal energy. Option D. Water is a poor convector of thermal energy. So if the water conducts thermal energy, then the heat energy should be transferred from one part to another and ice cube should be melted. In this case, the ice does not melt, which means that the heat energy should not transfer here. So water is a poor conductor of thermal energy. Option C is correct. Question number 21. A metal cup has a plastic lining. The cup is filled with hot water and held by a hand. Which statement about the transfer of thermal energy from the water to the hand is correct? Option A. In the plastic, no energy is transferred directly between the adjacent molecules. B. In the plastic, fast-moving molecules interact with the free electrons, making the electrons move very quickly. C. In the metal, energy is transferred only by the electrons. Option D. In the metals, energy is transferred by the electrons and by the vibration of the lattice. We know that in the metals there are a large number of free electrons, due to which the energy is transferred due to the free electrons and by the vibration of the lattice. So option D is correct. Question number 22. Which row shows an example of the transverse wave and an example of the longitudinal wave? Transverse wave, longitudinal wave. In the transverse wave, the particle moves perpendicular to the direction of the propagation of the wave, while in the longitudinal wave, the motion of the particle is parallel to the direction of the propagation of wave. Now we see the options. Option A, light, radio. B, radio sound. C, sound water. D, water light. So option B is correct because radio waves are transverse and sound waves are longitudinal. Question number 23. A wave passes through a gap and diffraction causes the wave to spread out. Which wave spreads out the most? Option A. Large wavelength through a gap, slightly larger than the wavelength. B. Larger wavelength through a gap, much smaller than the wavelength. C. Small wavelength through a gap, much larger than the wavelength. D. Small wavelength through a gap, much smaller than the wavelength. First of all, if I consider here is the barrier and these are the wavefront that are approaching towards this barrier. When the distance between these two wavefront, which is called lambda, if this is smaller as compared to the separation between these barrier, then there will be least diffraction, least bending or spreading. But if the distance between the barrier is smaller as compared to the wavelength, then there will be large diffraction. Here the wavelength is larger as compared to the separation. Now we see the options. Option A that talks about the larger wavelength and also B. So option A, large wavelength through a gap slightly larger than the wavelength. So this is correct. Option A is correct. We see option B, larger wavelength through a gap much smaller than the wavelength. So this is not small. Option B is incorrect. Question number 24. An object is placed before a plane mirror as shown. A student views the image of the object in the mirror from the point P. Where does she sees the image? First of all, object is at this position and it's a plane mirror. In the plane mirror, the image is formed on the opposite side of the mirror at the same location. It means that we have to measure the distance between this object and mirror. Then this distance will be equal to the distance of this mirror from the point D. It means that image is formed at D. So D is correct. Question number 25. Light has a speed of 1.24 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second in diamond. What is the refractive index of diamond? Here we have to find out the refractive index. So N will be equal to C over V, where C is the speed in the vacuum while V is the speed in diamond, like any medium, which here is diamond. So from here, C is 3.0 into 10 to the power 8 divided by V is 1.24 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. So refractive index N will be equal to 2.42. Now we see the options. Option A 0.41, B 1.54, C 2.42. So option C is correct. Question number 26. Which statement describes the monochromatic light? Option A, light that do not diffract. B, light that has a single frequency. C, light that spread out when shown through a glass prism. D, light that travels at the same speed in all materials. So monochromatic light is basically a light that has single frequency. Option B is correct. Question number 27. Both the amplitude and the frequency of the sound wave decrease. What happens to the sound heard? Option A, the sound is louder and has a higher pitch. B, the sound is louder and has a lower pitch. C, the sound is quieter and has a higher pitch. D, the sound is quieter and has a lower pitch. So first of all, it is given that the amplitude and the frequency decrease. What will be the effect on the loudness and the pitch? The loudness is related with the amplitude. While the frequency is basically related with the pitch. When we increase the amplitude, loudness also increase, and when we decrease the amplitude, loudness also decrease. Both of these varies directly proportion with each other. Similarly for the frequency and the pitch, when I increase the frequency, the pitch also increase, and when I decrease the frequency, pitch also decrease. Both of these also varies directly proportion with each other. It is given that the amplitude and the frequency decrease. It means that the loudness and the pitch both decreases. So option D is correct, which shows that the sound is quieter because its loudness is smaller and it has lower pitch. Question number 28. A sound wave is traveling through the water. What is the possible speed for the wave? So here, what is the possible speed for the sound wave that is traveling through the water? Option A, 150 meter per second. B, 300 meter per second. C, 1500 meter per second. D, 5000 meter per second. So option C is correct, because the sound wave travel in a water with a speed 1500 meter per second. Question number 29. An electromagnet is used to remove a splinter from the eye. Which material is the splinter made from? Aluminium, B, glass, C, iron, D, wood. So magnet can attract the magnetic material, and here between aluminium, glass, iron and wood. Iron is only the magnetic material. So option C is correct. Question number 30. A metal conductor is connected to a battery. Which statement describes the current in the metal conductor? Option A. It is the flow of electrons from the negative to the positive terminal. B. It is the flow of electrons from the positive to the negative terminal. C. It is the flow of the protons from the negative to positive terminal. D. It is the flow of the protons from the positive to negative terminal. First of all, here is a metal conductor. And when it is connected with the battery, we know that the metal contains large number of free electrons. So when there are large number of electrons inside this metal conductor, and this is negative terminal while this is positive terminal of the battery, when these electrons reaches at the negative terminal, these are repelled by this negative terminal of the battery, due to which they move towards the positive terminal of the battery. It means that the current is basically the flow of electrons from the negative to the positive terminal of the battery. So option A is correct. Question number 31. In an electric circuit, 40 coulomb of electric charge pass through a point in 5.0 second. What is the current in the circuit? Here we have to find out current, and we know that current is the rate of flow of charges, which is Q by T. The charges are given 40 coulomb, divided by time is 5.0 second. So the current will be equal to 8.0 ampere. The unit of current is ampere. Now we see the options. Option A 0.13 ampere, B 8.0 ampere. So B option is correct. Question number 32. There is a current of 5.0 ampere in a resistor. The potential difference PT across the resistor is 24 volt. How much energy is transferred in the resistor in 1.0 minute? Here we have to find out the energy. We know that power is the product of current and potential difference. Also, power is the rate of transfer of energy, that is E over T. Now I compare both of these equations. The left hand side is equal, so the right hand side also be equal. That is E over T will be equal to IV. From here E is equal to IV multiplied by T. So energy is equal to current, that is 5.0 ampere, multiplied by V 24 volt, divided by time, which is 1 minute. So 1.0 multiplied by 60 seconds. So energy will be equal to 7200. The unit of energy is joule. Now we see the options. Option A 5.0 joule, B 120 joule, C 290 joule, D 7200 joule. So option D is correct. Question number 33. The diagram shows a circuit. Switch S is closed. Which lamp light? Option A lamp 1 only, B lamp 2 only, C lamp 1 and lamp 2, D neither lamp 1 nor lamp 2. So first of all we see here there is a switch that is connected here, and there are 3 diodes. This one, second is this, and third is this. 2 lamps are connected, lamp 1 and lamp 2. There is also the battery. So first of all, when we close the switch, what will happen? The current flows through the circuit. So when the current flows through the circuit, this is positive side of the diode and this is negative. Again this is positive and this is negative. So positive terminal of the battery is attached with the positive side of the diode. So the current passes through this diode. Then at this point the current divided into 2 paths. One is towards the lamp 1 and the other path is towards lamp 2. Now we see here this is positive and negative. So there will be passage of the current and the lamp 1 light up. Across the second path, this is negative and this is positive. In this case, the diode is reverse bias, so the current cannot pass through this diode, and the lamp 2, it is switched off. The lamp 2 does not light up, so only the lamp 1 light up. Option A is correct. Question number 34. A circuit contains 4 ammeters and 3 resistors with different values. Which ammeter shows the largest reading? In this circuit, 4 ammeters are shown: A, B, C and D. So the current passing through the ammeter D will be the sum of the current that is passing through the ammeter A and ammeter B. So most of the current is passing through the ammeter D. Option D is correct. Question number 35. The diagram shows the pair of the circuit containing logic gates. In which diagram does the lower circuit of the pair not behave in the same way as the upper circuit? In the option A, we can see here that this is NOT gate and this is NAND gate. I suppose that the input of the NOT gate is 1, then the output would be 0. Again here I suppose input is 1, there will be 1 and 1. NAND gate is basically the combination of NOT plus AND. When I apply NOT gate over the AND gate, I get NAND gate. In the AND gate, when both of the inputs are high, then the output will be high. Here 1 and 1 is high, so the output of the AND gate will be high, which is 1. And when I apply NOT gate over it, it will changes into 0. So the output of the NAND gate will be 0. We can see 0 and 0 are same. So this option is incorrect. Now we see the circuit B. Here first of all this is AND gate. This is NAND gate. Again there is NAND gate. I suppose the inputs are 1 and 0 for both of these circuits. When 1 and 0 are combined by the AND gate, here will be output 0. So when 1 and 0 is combined by the NAND gate, here will be 1. The inputs of the next NAND gate is 1 and 1. When I apply AND gate over 1 and 1, the output will be 1. And when I apply NOT gate over it, it changes into 0. So the output will be 0. Both of these outputs are also same. So option B is also incorrect. Now we see the option C. Here is OR gate, this is NOR gate, this is also NAND gate. I suppose here inputs 1 and 1. When inputs are 1 and 1, output will be 1, because in the OR gate, if any one of the input is high, the output will be high. Next here it is also 1 and 1. When I apply OR gate, 1 and 1 changes into 1. By the application of NOT gate, it changes into 0. So here will be 0. The output is 0. So the input of the next NAND gate should be 0 and 0. When 0 and 0 combined by the AND gate, here will be output 0. And when 0, I apply NOT over it, it changes into 1. So here will be 1. Again the outputs are same. So option C is also incorrect. Now we see the last one. This is AND gate. It is NOR gate while it is NOT gate. I suppose the inputs are 1 and 0. The output of the AND gate will be 0. Here will be 1 and 0. When I apply the OR gate over 1 and 0, it changes into 1. And by applying the NOT gate, it changes into 0. So here output will be 0. When I apply NOT gate, it changes into 1. So here we can see that there is 0 and 1. Both of these outputs are changed. So option D is correct. Question number 36. The current in the coil produced a magnetic field around it as shown. So there is a magnetic field around the current carrying coil. The magnetic lines of force are emitting from this pole. It means that here is north and the other pole is south, because the magnetic lines of force emitting from the north pole and it enters into the south pole. The magnitude of the potential difference across the coil is increased and its direction is reversed. What happens to the magnetic field? Option A. The lines become closer together and the right hand end becomes the south pole. B. The lines become closer together and the right hand end remains on north pole. C. The lines become further apart and the right hand end becomes the south pole. Option D. The lines become further apart and the right hand end becomes a north pole. So first of all, when the magnitude of the potential difference increase, the lines are very close to each other, and when the potential difference direction is reversed, it means that the right hand end becomes the south pole and the left hand becomes the north pole. The direction of the magnetic field also be reversed. So option A is correct, which shows that the lines are closer together and the right hand end becomes the south pole. Question number 37. The notation for an isotope of sodium is Na with atomic number 11 and mass number 23. Which row gives the composition of a neutral atom of this isotope of sodium? So first of all, here is sodium 23 and 11. The atomic number is 11 and the number of proton is basically equal to atomic number, which is also equal to 11. Next we have to calculate the number of neutrons. We know that mass number is the sum of number of protons and number of neutrons. I write here mass number is 23 and proton number is 11 plus n. So n will be equal to 12. Number of neutrons is equal to 12 and it is given that it's a neutral atom. So the number of protons will be equal to number of electrons, which is also 11. Now we see the options. Number of protons, number of neutrons, number of electrons. Option A 11, 12 and 11. Option B 11, 12, 12. C 11, 23, 11. D 12, 11 and 12. Now we see the option A. The number of protons is 11. This is correct. Number of neutrons are 12. Here is also 12. So this is also correct. Number of electrons are 11. Here is also 11. So option A is correct. Question number 38. The radioactive isotope of hydrogen undergoes beta decay to the isotope of helium with atomic number 2 and mass number 3. What is the nuclide notation for the hydrogen isotope? So first of all, here is hydrogen and it undergoes the beta decay. It means that it emits electron. Plus here is also helium with atomic number 2 and mass number 3. We balance the atomic number and atomic mass on both sides of this arrow. On the right hand side, the atomic number is 2 minus 1, which is 1. So here will be 1, while the mass number is 3 plus 0, which is equal to 3. So here will be 3. It means that the isotope of hydrogen has atomic number 1, while the mass number 3. Now we see the options. Option A. Here is hydrogen with 1 and 1. This is incorrect. Option B. Hydrogen with 1 and 2. This is also incorrect. Option C. H with 3 and 1. So option C is correct. Question number 39. When measuring the emission from a radioactive rock brought into the laboratory, a teacher mentions that background radiation must be taken into account. What is this background radiation? Option A. Infrared radiation from the warm object in the laboratory. B. Infrared radiation from the sun. C. Ionizing radiation from the radioactive rock brought into the laboratory. D. Ionizing radiation in the laboratory when the radioactive rock is not present. So background radiation is basically the radiation when there is no ionizing source, then this radiation also be present. So option D is correct, which shows that the background radiations are the ionizing radiation in the laboratory when the radioactive rock is not present. Question number 40. Solid cesium-137 decays by the emission of beta particle to form of solid barium-137 which emits gamma rays. The barium-137 undergoes no further decay. The half-life of cesium-137 is 33 years. A block of pure cesium-137 has a mass of 2.0 μg. The diagram shows a radiation detector a distance of 5 cm from the block. The detector registers a count rate of 2000 counts per second. Which statement is not correct? Option A. After 33 years, the mass of the block is 1.0 μg. First of all, the half-life of the cesium is 33 years and the mass of the cesium is 2.0 μg. So when first half-life pass, mass remains half, which is 1.0 μg. Mass of the block is 1.0 μg after one half-life. This is not correct because after the one half-life, half nuclei converted into barium and the block contains both the barium and cesium and the total mass of the block remains same. So option A is incorrect. Now we see the option B. After 66 years, the sample contains 1.5 μg of the barium. So this is also correct statement because after two half-life, I write here when second half-life pass, then here will be 1.0 over 2 which is 0.5 μg. When the second half-life pass, only 0.5 μg of the cesium left and all other 1.5 μg is converted into barium. So this statement is correct, but we have to circle the incorrect statement. According to this statement is also be incorrect. Option C. With 5 cm of the lead between the block and the detector, the count rate is just above background level. So this statement is also correct because the lead with good radiation shield effect absorb both the background radiation and the radiation from the radioactive block. So the count rate remains greater than the background count rate. So option C is incorrect, but this statement is correct. Option D. With 2 mm of aluminium between the block and the detector, the count rate is reduced significantly. The penetration power of the alpha radiation and the beta radiation is very low. They cannot pass through the large thickness of the metal. So the count rate reduced significantly by placing 2 mm aluminium sheet between the block and detector. So this statement is correct, but this option is incorrect. Only the option A is correct.